Hey, this is Jonathan Ariel, and I'm back with another video in the series on how to set up a Moodle course. Now, in a previous video, we went over how to write Moodle questions, and we also learned how to set up the quiz assignment itself. Now, in this video, it's time to go back and assign those questions to the quiz. To do that, we need to open the quiz itself. So let me bring that up. And because we haven't added any questions yet, Moodle is giving that error message to remind us that we need to do that now. And it's making it easy by putting an Edit Quiz button directly on the screen right here. Now, after we add even a single question, that button is going to disappear from this screen, and so you do need to know the other way to get there. So we can go to the Actions menu and bring that up. And this looks sort of similar to the Actions menu that's on the main course page, but notice that every option in this list has something to do with this particular quiz. Moodle is very good at hiding certain things from you until you're on a page where you would need access to those things. Now, let me point out one point of confusion. If we go to Edit Settings, that'll take us back to the page where we could make changes to the due date for the quiz or set a time limit for the quiz. And that's not something I want to do today. I want to go make changes to the quiz itself, and that's Edit Quiz. The way Moodle uses the word edit is confusing until you've learned your way around Moodle a little bit. Now, to add new questions to this quiz, we're going to use this button to add a new question. But if I choose the Add a New Question option, it's just going to bring me to the list of question types, and then I could pick one and write a brand new question, and it would automatically be assigned to this quiz. Now, there's two reasons why I'm not going to go over that today. First, I've already gone over how to write basic questions in Moodle. And second, if you go about it this way, Moodle is going to create a brand new category in your question bank, and it'll be separate from every other category you've already made. And I recommend that you set your categories up first, and then go to those categories to assign questions, because it'll set you up for advantages like at the end of a semester, you could generate a semester review quiz and simply go back to each individual category that you've made along the way and pull questions from those categories. It may be difficult to see that right now, but it's going to be a serious advantage later on. So let me go back to the Add menu. This time I'm going to choose From a Question Bank. Now, before this video, I wrote some more questions into Moodle, and Moodle is showing me all of the questions because we have it checked to say also show questions from subcategories. So let me uncheck that, and then I'm going to go back to the category list, and I'm going to choose the Notes Quiz category. So those are the 4 questions I wrote in a previous video. Well, the fastest way to assign questions to a quiz is to go into the category, and you could select all of the questions that you want to add, and then add them to the quiz. So let's look at some options that we have on the screen now. If you wanted to rearrange the order of questions in the quiz, you could drag them around, and Moodle will renumber them. Or you could check Shuffle, and then Moodle will shuffle the order of the questions itself every time a quiz attempt is generated. You could also preview each individual question in case you wanted to check and see if that was the actual question you meant to add, or you could delete the individual question from the quiz and add a different one. If you want to delete a couple of questions or maybe all of them, you can select multiple items and then check off the ones that you want to delete and delete the selected question. I'm not going to do that right now. Now, in the video about creating Moodle questions, I cautioned you to leave the default points set for 1 on the question itself. In this column here, you have the option to change this to be a different question weight. Like if I type a 2 into that box and then enter, that means that question will count twice as much as the other questions in this quiz. For now, I'm going to set it back to be a 1. Now, this next part I can't really show you because I don't have students in my course who have actually taken this quiz. Understand that Moodle is set up in a way that is designed to be as fair as possible to students. So while you're setting up a quiz, you can make pretty much any changes you want on this screen. But after the quiz is open and the first student starts taking that quiz, Moodle will prevent you from making most of the changes that are now available on this screen. Like, for example, if you forgot to add a question to a quiz and a student has already started taking that quiz, you're not going to be able to come to this screen and add another question. That's just not really fair. There are some ways to deal with that situation when it happens, but I'll save those details for another video. Right now I want to show you some different things about adding questions to a quiz. Right now though, let's go back to the main course page. Right now I'd like to make another quiz in Moodle for the skills questions that I wrote previously. So to do that, I have to turn on editing. Let's scroll down. And I could go add an activity and choose quiz and go through all of those menu options. But right now I can also go to the quiz that I've already written and duplicate it. Now sometimes if you make a copy of a quiz that already has questions assigned to it and students have already made attempts on it, copying that quiz can take 3 to 5 minutes sometimes. It feels like Moodle is frozen up on you. And so a good idea is to create a copy of a quiz that's just mostly blank. Let me do that now. And then I'm going to change the name of that quiz to be default quiz to customize. And what I'll do is I drag that down to the next unit. So when I'm ready to make a new quiz in that unit, I'll just make a copy of the completely blank quiz and then edit that one. But I've always got a mostly blank quiz where all of the settings are already made. So let's come back to this notes quiz copy, and I want to make a couple of changes to it. I'm going to call it the Unit 1 Skills Quiz. So take this quiz after completing the practice activities for Unit 1. I can scroll down, and because it's a copy of the other quiz, the due dates are still set to the way the notes quiz is, and that's fine for right now. And so I'm going to come down and save and display. Now that Edit Quiz button is gone because it's a copy of the notes quiz. If we go look at the Edit Quiz screen, those questions are still there. Now I need to select all of those questions and delete them. And that might seem terrifying to you right now. If you're thinking, oh no, the questions themselves have been deleted, that's not the way Moodle works. The questions are still safe in the question bank, they're just no longer assigned to this particular quiz. So now we're going to add new questions to this quiz, but we're going to do it in the most powerful way that Moodle has available. It's called adding a random question. Now it's not completely random, you do get to choose what category Moodle is pulling that question from. So I'm going to go to my category list, and for the skills quiz, I'm going to choose the first skill that I wrote. Now somewhere before this video, I went into this question bank and customized those 4 skill folders to reflect things that I actually assess in one of my courses. And so this is the first skill I want to assess on this quiz. I wrote 4 questions into this particular category, and I'm going to instruct Moodle to add 1 question from the category, but you could pull up any number of questions here. Be aware that if you instruct Moodle to add more questions than are actually in the category, you will get a weird error message and the quiz will fail to generate. So I'm going to add this question to the quiz. So let's preview that and see what happens. So this is one of the questions from that category, but watch what happens if I press the preview button again. If you notice, the question looks kind of similar, but the answer choices here are different. And that's because I created 1 question in this category, and then I started making copies and altering the question setup slightly for every different version. And Moodle is going to pull 1 random question from that category every time a quiz is generated. And that's one of the most powerful things that Moodle can do for you as a teacher. If you set up your quizzes in this fashion, students will quickly shift over from trying to memorize the correct answer to questions, and they'll quickly start to focus on the what do I need to learn and understand so that they can make the grade that they're happy with. Let me close the preview. Alright, so let me add some more questions. I'm going to choose a random question. But now I'm going to change the category. I'll add that question to the quiz. And then I have 2 more categories of questions to add from. So I'll change to the 3rd. Add that one on. And then the last one. Now this part is difficult to show you, but it's important to understand. Let's say that I wrote 5 questions in a particular category and I assigned 1 random question from that category to the quiz. Well, the way Moodle builds quizzes, a student will take their first attempt and see a version of that question, and then on their next attempt, they're guaranteed to see a different version from that category. And Moodle will repeat that process until it's run out of questions in that category. If a student still has attempts left, Moodle will then reuse the questions from that category. Now, if that stresses you out and the idea of writing 5 different versions of every question in your Moodle question bank, if that seems a little overwhelming, well, you might be right. You would be fine to just set up the categories and maybe write 2 versions of every question in the category. And then in future years, you could come back to those categories, and when you have time, you could add more questions to each category to kind of fill them out. On the other hand, once you've gotten a little practice writing Moodle questions, it is pretty fast to make a copy of the first question that you wrote in the category and then make small alterations to it to change the setup so that a different answer is appropriate. You can get pretty fast at writing some questions in Moodle. Now let's go back to see what it would look like for a student. There's a Preview Quiz Now button that we could use, but that is also under the Actions menu. We can go Preview. Now I'm not going to answer the questions in this quiz, but I do want to go through and show you some new things that I don't think I've shown you yet. If we're in this preview screen and you are reading this question and realize there was a mistake in it somewhere, you could use the Edit Question button. And that would take you directly to the screen where you can make changes to this question and fix it. And then when you save those changes, they would show up immediately back on the preview screen. Scrolling down a little bit more, question 2, that looks like I wrote it as a matching question. Then question 3 was a multiple choice with 3 answers, and then question 4 was a true-false. Now let's finish this attempt. And notice that Moodle will take you through several screens in order to turn a quiz in. Part of that is to prevent a student from saying, well, the quiz just turned itself in. That doesn't really happen in Moodle unless the quiz is closed because of a time limit or the due date. You basically have to press a submit button 3 times in order to actually submit the quiz. It also gives you a chance to check and see, did I answer all of the questions or was there one that I left unanswered? And so even though I haven't answered any, I'm just going to go ahead and finish. There's the 3rd button I have to press to turn the quiz in. And this brings up the feedback that a student could read through and maybe understand a question a little bit better or ask for help. So one last thing for this video, the teacher preview is a pretty good way to see if a quiz is going to function in the way that you intend it to. But a better way is to change your view to see what it would look like to a student. And that's available up in this top menu right here. So I can click that and then switch role to. And I'll choose student. And I didn't really intend for this to happen, but it's a good illustration of Moodle trying to help you out. Right now, I'm in the student view trying to look at the feedback screen for a quiz that is currently hidden. And so Moodle is reminding me about that with this error message at the top of the screen. So let me switch back to the teacher view and then turn editing on, and then I'll unhide that quiz, make it say show, and now we'll go back and change it to a student view. Alright, so this is the student view for Moodle, and this is what they could see in your course at this moment. Only Unit 1 is visible. All of the remaining things on my main course page are invisible to students at this time. And so using this view, I could go into that quiz now and test it with a more realistic simulation of what that quiz is going to do in real life. That's about it for this video. In one of the next videos, I'll show you how to set up the gradebook, and then we'll learn how to look at the quiz results with actual results from student attempts. For now, thanks for watching.